Got it.
All right, so we're live right
Thanks, Tanner.
now. I think
Yeah.
you can share that link for people to get into the link, or I believe people can go to my YouTube page and
Okay.
watch it.
So should I copy and paste the link from the, or do you want to do this, Robbie? I've already posted in there once. I've already posted in there once today, so Facebook might kill that reach.
Here. All right, Nick. Wow, that was weird because I went into YouTube and I could hear like the delay. So it was like Tanner was speaking twice and saying two different sentences, and it just really fucks my brain.
That's fascinating.
All right, there's a link for YouTube. So I can post. I guess I'll post in there.
How do I see like all of y'all?
You only see whoever's talking.
Say something, Tanner.
Something?
It's like I made the mistake of like clicking on one of y'all, and now I can only see.
Okay, so that's the YouTube link?
Yeah, I'm posting right now.
Cool.
You guys go in, like it, and comment on it on the Facebook status because it is a YouTube link. I don't know how that works in groups. I know in main feeds, Facebook gets cranky about YouTube links. Too bad Ducks couldn't buy YouTube years ago.
All right. Well, I guess we're live, right?
Woo, let's do it.
How do we know when people are watching?
You'll see views at the bottom, viewers. Nick, make sure you hit the chat thing to open up the chat window so you can see what people type.
Can
in
anybody type that into the chat window, or do we have to open up a Q&A, Robbie?
Anybody can chat in it. We have one viewer right now. Anyone can chat in the group chat.
Cool.
As far as I know.
Cool.
If not, they can comment on Facebook, and then I'll just hear it and go check it out.
Yeah. So, guys, if you can't figure out how to like ask questions via a chat window because we're having technical issues, I don't think we are. But anyways, if you can't, just leave a comment on the Facebook post because we have that tab open so we can like come in and check that regularly. Deal. So I guess to like get this party started, welcome to the first book club Q&A. Kind of cool. I have no idea how this thing's gonna go off and what this is gonna be like, but I think it's pretty cool that we've got like a big group of people who are just here to like hang out and talk about books and read books and whatnot. So obviously the December book was Ready Player One. I know a fair amount of people really, really enjoyed it, found it to be entertaining and different than what they might normally read, which is exciting, and I think that's a good thing, and that's like a good thing about a book club. So I guess to get this party started then, what did y'all think about it? Like, did you go back and Nick, I know you read it for the first time.
Yeah.
Robbie, did you go back and reread it?
I did not go back and reread it for the simple fact that I forgot that the copy that I read was the one you lent me, and I had given it back to you. And I was like, I've got this book that I really need to finish before the end of the year because it's all the fucking math, and I'm just trying to get through this Jordan Ellenberg. So I didn't buy it because I was kind of on a don't buy books because there was like 16 my wife bought me for Christmas. So I was trying not to buy more. But I spark noted and I remember a lot of things. So
okay,
you know that
Nick,
makes sense because like when we were at your house a few weeks ago in Georgia, I knew we were gonna read it and I hadn't bought it yet. So I like looked through your entire book collection, Robbie, trying to figure out like to like read it while I was there. It's like this fucker doesn't even have the book. Oh, I don't know if we're allowed to cuss. This man doesn't have the book. that makes a lot of sense. But no, I was actually surprised how much I like it, just because I don't typically like sci-fi stuff a whole lot. Like the whole tech shit and all that stuff.
Right.
A lot of times I don't like it. Keep cussing. So, but yeah, I was surprised how much I liked it.
I think if anyone is watching, they should just know that we have dirty sailor mouths, and it's very easy to clean that up in text. When it comes to just speaking, we may say words that you don't really like a lot, but you know.
Yeah. Like you at that seminar.
I did not at that seminar.
Yeah. Whatever, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's go into sort of the book and things that it talks about. As a giant video game nerd, pop culture nerd, this book is where I want to live. I don't want to live in the real world anymore. I want to be in the Oasis. The Oasis is amazing because I can go to a Star Wars universe and play with lightsabers, and then I can go to a Joss Whedon universe and play around with Buffy and hang out with everyone on the Firefly ship, and then I can go to a Back to the Future universe. I can any of these things that I want to do. I can go and live in that world, and it feel kind of real, which I think is really, really cool. Because when I started reading this, virtual reality was kind of becoming the next big thing that we as gamers are being told we need to get ready to take on. So for me, I love every aspect about what the book represents, the themes that it talks about, and just what the book is.
Yeah. Like, I totally agree. I was actually like kind of surprised how many of the references that I recognized, just because I know a lot of it was like from the 80s, I guess, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I was actually surprised how, like, each time I caught something, like it was kind of like nostalgic or whatever.
Right.
Like all the Back to the Future stuff and God, I can't even remember it all right. Like, cause that was his like spaceship, right? It was like the DeLorean or whatever.
Yeah, he at one point he did have that. So
yeah. So I thought it was cool, like catching those as they came. It was almost like, like no pun intended, but like it was almost like looking for Easter eggs as you're reading.
I mean, I think for sure that's what it was. Like, I think he did a really, really good job of like making sure that it's chocked full of Easter eggs.
Mm-hmm.
So that way that like as you go through it, like there's a million things that you find you didn't like grow up like. So like I didn't grow up in the 80s, but because I have young parents, I was exposed to all of that. And like them and being exposed to that, they were just up on that. I was like, man, I totally forgot about that shit.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he had to play Roderick through all of War Games to like get the first key or whatever was like. I also forgot that I really enjoyed War Games as a movie.
Yeah.
So it's like deep dive into pop culture like that, which I think made it such a unique book.
Yeah. I totally agree. It was like, I don't know. It was so weird because at first you're thinking of it as like a game, like a big MMO or something. But then like you said, like he has to like go through like, was it the first or second key where he had to like repeat like every line from a movie or whatever?
Yep.
So it's like so all over the place, but it was cool. It was really unique because it was such a weird mixture of shit, but it worked.
It really was. And the great thing about it is like I just don't know if I've ever read a book like that.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
But it's weird because like it also has a lot of like vague overlap just to like the way the internet is now. Although like less fantasy based, but like the whole like how like there near the end he started to kind of have like issues with like, like this isn't even real life. Like I've never even like he had the big crush on Artemis and he's never even seen her, and like
yeah.
So it's weird how like that is like pretty prevalent now, especially in what we do and the people that are going to be watching this. Like we interact with a lot of these people every day and have never seen them.
Right. And like probably won't.
No. I hope not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting that, and one thing I think we could talk about is sort of reality and sort of what is what is real, because I think that's something that, you know, the book sets up, is that they live in this real world, but everyone in the world is able to play and is hooked into the Oasis. So they're not even in the world that already sucks and is full of suffering and crapitude. They're in whatever world they want to be in that allows them to live the life they want to live. And I think that's an interesting sort of take on, one, a little dystopian for the future, that we're going to be out of energy, people are going to be unemployed, people are going to live in these giant stacks, and the trailer park is redesigned. You know, but the internet will still be this free entity, this entity where anyone can do what they want. And that brings them, that world can bring them out of the world they live in. But it's interesting that, you know, in our own worlds, we go to places to escape. We use food to escape. We use books to escape our own worlds instead of facing our own problems.
Yeah.
So, you know, it would be interesting to see him write a story in that world where someone is actually living in outside of the Oasis.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because like he talks about that, like how like everybody's too busy like living in this fantasy, like ignoring the problems that like the whole fucking, I keep cussing, the whole planet is dying, you know.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, it's interesting because that's like a pretty strong metaphor to like any problem ever, you know, like the longer you ignore it, the more shit just dies on the backside.
Right.
Yeah, so that's, I hadn't thought about that, Robbie.
Well, I mean, think like it was the big point in the book whenever he winds up meeting up with Halliday's, you know, like eternal avatar. Halliday is essentially like what I built in the Oasis is great, but like reality is the only real thing.
Yeah,
And you need to take part in that. And that becomes like a really important point that I think gets made, in that like while the Oasis is sweet and it would be so much fun to be able to just bounce between worlds like it's nobody's business,
yeah,
like you're still left wanting with something that you just can't get from anywhere else.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, like ultimately I think like that comes back to, so like I was looking through the questions on the original post we did in the group about setting up a discussion time, and Frank Aguirre asked, and I think he's probably still watching, is question, how has social media taken over your life? And it's a really basic question, but it's really good and it's really applicable to this, because social, you know, Facebook is more or less kind of like the closest thing we have to an Oasis today.
So I actually have a question for you all about that.
All right.
So a lot of like my friends, my family members that like just do social media for the sake of having social media, like how we were like 10 years ago, probably. There's so much like emotion attached and stress and like a lot of people have like paranoia about social media and things like that. Like, you know, who's watching me and stuff. I don't experience any of that. And I think a lot of it's because like our work is heavily dependent on Facebook. Like, so like social media for us is like very closely intertwined with like our work. So I don't know if like that's why, but like have you guys experienced that, or am I like?
I think yes, I have, and I think part of that is the fact that now that everyone knows they can have their opinion heard, they think that it's worthwhile for them to put out their opinion on everything without actually thinking about their opinion. And everyone takes everything so personally, you know, because now it's like, oh, well, I know this person and they're commenting on my thing. Well, how dare they like not agree with me? Now that you know more people are like likely to disagree with you, you kind of like get really upset about the things that you believe in, because you're not surrounded by other people who believe in 99.9% of the things you believe in.
Well, you see a lot of people also like afraid to even post for fear of like being judged, like kind of like what's it called, spotlight syndrome? Like you think people are staring at you or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think like to Robbie's point, actually, I think I would almost not totally disagree, because like you're certainly right to a point, but I think that like one thing that it does is that allows ourselves to insulate echo chamber even more
Mm-hmm.
than we might find in real life sometimes.
Yeah.
And certainly not all the time, and certainly it can be a reflection of what is real life. You know, like how often we work in the fitness field where people argue about the dumbest shit.
Yeah.
How often do we come across an entire like thread? It's like all of our evidence-based friends who are super high and mighty, somebody who believes in low carb, high fat dieting.
Yeah.
It becomes a really thorny and sticky situation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird because I think like one of my buddies is like a high level Super Smash Brothers player. Like he plays professionally, and he has the exact same stuff in that online community where like people would like just put their flag in the ground, and it's like this big ordeal.
Well,
and it's crazy how that happens. But it's also crazy how like many fields have that exact situation.
That's one of the things that's so interesting about Ready Player One is he builds up this aura of who. And sorry, I've got to look her name up because I don't remember off the top of my head.
Artemis?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. No, not Artemis. Who's the other girl or the other?
H.
Yeah.
H. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like in the he builds this player up, and the way it reads, I'm like, oh my god, I've played online games with a douchebag like this, who's like kind of smart and funny, and like you really like them, but you're also kind of like, man, you're kind of an ass. And then you find out in the end, like he completely blows away that it's like a black lesbian, female character, and you're like, oh, I didn't. Like you didn't think that's who that character was going to be.
Yeah.
And he challenges that notion, and I think that it's interesting that in the online world, as soon as a woman comes out and like you hear a girl, because I played Call of Duty, I've played Halo, and like you could be in a room, and I've had it. When I was in my gaming clan, we had a girl on our team, and she was amazing, great, positive KDR all the time, just crushed people. And then she would speak at the end of the match, and people would be like, "Oh my god, how come I have to speak by a girl? What?" Like, and then they would start shit talking, or like people would say things derogatory towards women, and then she would speak up, and like they would immediately shut up and be put in their place. And that stuff is prevalent in the online gaming world, and I was really glad that he sort of touched on that in Ready Player One, that because you're behind this veil, you like the Wizard of Oz, you can be a short, tiny midget, of a man, and be the and have this persona of this all-wise wizard who's powerful and raw, but behind the curtain, that's not who you are. And that's who I think the internet does to a lot of people. And I was really glad to see that they touch on that in Ready Player One, because even at that time, and this is just me as a gamer knowing this, women are now gaming online, as gaming in general, is more female driven than male driven ever.
Right.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah, well, I think like that exact thing, like it's probably like all, back to the social media, like the things you see out of people are very often like not exactly them. Like it is them like trying to build, like it's their highlight reel.
It's a highlight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, let's get back to the book, Tanner. Bring up something from the book that maybe you wanted to talk about or discuss.
Yeah, so one of the things that I really wanted to go back and look at was there was a great question that I just loved. Stu Frazier asked whenever we initially posted announcing the original video that we were going to do. And she said, how does this book differ from other dystopian future books? And I think that's an excellent question. And I'm going to take a swing at it before I pass this off to y'all, solely just because, like, in my reading romp that I just posted, I mean, over the past 2 years, I've read just about every dystopian, like, major dystopian work there is. And like, to be honest, like, I know we've talked about this, like, I don't think 1984 is a very good book. Like, I get that it's important for what it was and whatnot, but, like, I don't think that it's that great. And I think Brave New World is better and more accurate, but I think It Can't Happen Here by Sinclair Lewis is by far and away the best. Even though it's probably not the most widely known or widely read, most accurate to America in 2016, 2017. But I think there are elements of this book that are probably I don't know if by 2050, but I would be willing to bet by 2075, 2090, that are more accurate than just about anything we could have ever imagined. Like, I think the idea of mass inequality could certainly potentially become a thing. I don't know if it will, but I think, like, I think that Ernest Cline is onto something with that. But I think especially, like, urban centers becoming a thing and people moving out of rural areas into urban centers and overcrowding becoming an issue. But on top of that, I think just the reliance on a virtual reality. Like, I don't think that, like, I think we're far past the tipping point to where people spend most of their time connected to the online world versus the in-person world. And I don't think that changes for a while.
What's interesting is that what this book is about, virtual reality, the Oasis getting sucked into that. And today, the World Health Organization released that in next year, they're going to add gaming addiction. I believe it's gaming addiction to mental health. And it says in the article, because of course people I clicked on the news thing and people on, like, Facebook freaked out because they just read headlines.
Yeah.
And even in it, it's like, look, we're not saying that it causes addiction, but we're saying for some people, like alcohol, it can cause them to do that. And dude, I don't lie. 2010, when I didn't, 2009, when I didn't have a job, you know what I did? Played a lot of video games. Yeah. And from 2009 until 2011, when I moved to New York City, I played a lot of video games. Like, there were some things I did that maybe bordered on addictive behavior, but I was also unemployed and had nothing else to do. What else? Nobody was hiring. What was I supposed to do?
I have a friend from high school named Kevin Rowe. He went to the University of Kentucky, and he flunked out his senior year. He's 6 credit hours away to this day from graduating, so 2 classes. And he straight up got addicted to World of Warcraft. He had to go to therapy and all kinds of. Yeah, he was waking up at 6 a.m. playing until 1 or 2 a.m. Just every day. Wouldn't go to class. Flunked out of college. So close to getting a degree. Now he's living with his mom. Really nice kid, but that shit just threw his life for a loop. It's crazy because that is a thing, and it's weird that it is.
That to me, I know I talked to you guys about this book the other day, Chasing the Scream, and what it says about addiction. And how addiction is really nothing more than just trying to fill a void. Mm-hmm. Isn't always just a straight chemical dependency thing. I think that's exactly what this is, right? I think a lot of us, we find that the internet community can fill a void that we have in our lives, and I think it'll just continue to grow to be that way. I think you'll probably run into a marketplace that's geared itself towards helping us fill that void, haptic gloves and awesome like retina scanning technology and things like that, experience better, right? Because that's what a company is incentivized to do, and that's not that company's fault. Like that's just a broader societal thing.
Doesn't
So like to me, I think that's where this book is the most accurate. Like I think that's where this book nails it over anything else.
Doesn't Jordan Peterson have something where he talks about like kids clinging to games because it allows them to compete or something like that? Like, do you know what I'm talking about?
So
that's a Piagetian idea. Like it's
Yeah.
basically Jean Piaget saying that like kids play games because it teaches them the rules of life.
Yeah.
And but like he like it's
I'm
not
laughing because like the rules of life involve teabagging people that you've just killed on the battlefield.
yeah. So like that's like Piaget figured out that with rats that like if you have like a small rat versus a big rat, like the small rat will not play with the big rat if it can't win 30% of the time.
Right, yeah.
Rounded that out into like human studies on children and whatnot. So when he figured out that
Browns even still in the NFL.
Right?
They won 2 games in like 5 years.
But that's also that's why they can't keep a quarterback more than a year.
Yeah,
they don't win, so they keep flunking out.
Well, let's sort of go back to. I know there have been some questions, and Tanner, I know you've kind of pulled some up. What made you choose Ready Player One as the first book for the StrongerU book club?
Oh, okay, that's all right. So what made me choose this one above all else was the fact that I knew it was entertaining, and I knew that it was probably different. I also thought that like, and this is insidious, but we work for a community that's based on which it asks people to spend all of their time on the internet. Like I kind of wanted the book to make people think about, while what we do with each other with StrongerU is important, I wanted people to think about whether or not they place too much importance on being involved with the online community. Like that to me, like that, I think this book is really, really good in that. And like, obviously I'm not saying like leave StrongerU, leave the Facebook group, leave or anything like that. But like, I don't want this place to be the only place that somebody gets fulfillment.
For sure.
I think this book does a better job of talking about that than anything else.
And you know what's crazy? It's like, I think, luckily, I think a lot of people, at least in the StrongerU community, seemingly, there's so many of them, do a good job of that, because a lot of them are doing CrossFit and they have families, and like it seems like a lot of them, for whatever reason, do happen to have other sources of fulfillment. And if they don't, I guess, like to your point, like it's important to think about adding that in. Like maybe not cut out StrongerU. You shouldn't do that, because like I do think there is like a lot of value in communicating online, because it is like a gift. We can now develop relationships with people we would have never met. All 3 of us are friends because of that. Right. But also to look at like, get involved, take classes, do something else like in the real world. I think that is an important thing. So.
Sure. All right.
What do you say, Robbie?
What do I say about what?
Yeah, what's like, I mean, add to that being the reason for this choice?
It's just such a fun, easy read that like during the holidays, I was like, listen, you can sit down, and this was maybe, in terms of a novel, like not one of those like really short sort of self-helpy kind of books or artist books. It's like 80 pages, and it's only 80 pages because they like shorten the page length to like draw it out. This is probably the second fastest novel I've ever read. Because it's about stuff that I love. I'm a video game nerd. So it's my world. It's the stuff that I knew, stuff that I dream about being able to do one day. So I knew it would be a quick, fast read that people would love and get into and not want to stop. And instead of going to eat a Christmas cookie, they could read this and save some carbs. So,
Right.
Yeah, that the book helps you put the cookie down. What is like one Easter egg, Nick, that you mentioned? The things that get mentioned that you see, and in the movie trailer, there are some really cool things. Now, it did bug me, and I know someone pointed it out when I posted the trailer. They're like, "Oh man, I saw so and so from Overwatch." That bugged me because Overwatch is now, not the 80s.
Yeah.
But it being 2045 in the future, it would make sense that things today would be in the Oasis at that time. So it's going to be a massive, crazy thing, chock full of tons of references. Sort of like that old YouTube song where like the world is ending and Mr. Rogers like saves the world and like kills everyone or some shit.
Oh yeah. From like
references like everything ever is in it.
So one Easter egg that I saw that like triggered something in me was like at the end when they all have like their, I forget what they even call them, like their robots that they get into, and I think had a robot from Gundam Wing.
Yeah,
and I forgot. I used to love that show, and I'd forgotten all about it. And as soon as I saw it, I like closed the book for a second, jumped on Wikipedia, and was like trying to remember what they looked like, and because I remember there was one that I really liked more than the others, and like that was kind of a cool one that like immediately was like, holy shit, I forgot about that.
Dude, the Gundam Wing thing was excellent. I forgot all about Gundam Wing. Yeah. And like whenever I read that, I was like, I had the same reaction. Like I forgot how much I enjoyed that as a kid growing up, and for him to bring, it's like things like that make the book genius, right? That it's like writing makes you remember or realize something that you totally forgot. So that's what made it great.
What was your Easter egg, Tanner, that you really enjoyed, or one that you wish was in it?
There wasn't something from Roadhouse, was there?
Not that I remember.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think I wished there would have been something from Roadhouse, like a character like Dalton or somebody like that. Because that's just one of my favorite movies from that time period, even though it's terrible.
Robbie, you answer, and then there was a question that I saw that I thought was pretty interesting.
Okay. I think for me, my biggest thing, of course, was the Whedonverse. Because if I can go live out Buffy or Firefly, I'm all in on doing that. And just what a cool universe to be in. Because Buffy the Vampire Slayer is the greatest TV show ever written. So that is, knowing that exists, I was like, yes, awesome, cool. Some of the things I really would have liked to have seen, and this comes from being more of a 90s kid than kind of that, early 80s, because I was born in the mid 80s. I'm like really an early 90s kid. I would have loved to have seen a little more obscure 90s references.
Yeah.
But I get that is the era. Like I almost want him to write the book again, like tell a different story, but in the 90s.
Agreed.
Rock of Ages was amazing. Just a stupid jukebox musical that was all like hair metal. I'm like, no, where's my 90s musical? Like I need like the grunge. I need some Alanis. I need all of the great 90s stuff in Rock of Ages in the 90s. So
I couldn't agree more.
But Nick, what was the question you saw? Because I want to try and wrap this up. I want to keep it around 30 minutes. So
all right. So Will, I don't know how to say Will's last name. Shearer?
Oh, no. Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
He said, "What does this book say about nerd culture?" And he was talking about, is it about liking whatever you like and not worrying if it's cool? And then he goes on. He's like, it kind of seemed to be a lot about what Halliday liked as opposed to you. And I felt exactly the same way, because there were certain points where there would be a reference, and I would remember I would remember the reference, I would recognize it, but it wasn't something I found interesting at all. Like, that just didn't vibe with me.
Here's what I'll say on that, because and the first thing I thought when I saw that question was, for those of you who are gamers and remember this, you'll remember the scandal that was the end of Mass Effect 3 a few years ago, when fans were pissed off that choices that they made throughout the game really didn't provide an ending to the game, really didn't like change the ending. Well, because quite frankly, the writers get to write the ending they want to write. Your choices influence a lot of things throughout the game, but they still have to wrap the story up. And for me, that was my first thought was, well, if I wrote it, there would be certain things that would stand out to me. And these are the things that, oh my God, Bowser. I miss him. He's so cute. But there are things that, like, I think Halliday is the author, essentially. You know, it's him saying, hey, you know, I'm Ernest Cline, and these are the things I really like, and this is what I would build. But in that same way, it sounds like the Oasis is set up almost like Android, where like it's or you know, it's an open software that anyone can create their own stuff. I can create a Lego universe and just hang out and play Legos all day, like, and whatever. Like, anyone can create it, and I think that's what Halliday sort of wanted. But there's still a lot of things in the game that he created that are going to be about him, because he created the game.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, sure, it was about the things that he wanted it to be about, but of course it was, because it was his game. It was like,
for sure. I thought it was weird that so many people were obsessive about the exact same things he was obsessive about, which were so vastly different, like Dungeons and Dragons and those random sitcoms and all these various TV shows and comics and the exact same music. Like, they all had the exact same obsessive likes, and there's so many of them.
Yeah, but you know, man, like, I think that's like only a really amplified version of when Bill Gates releases his reading list every year. Like, or when Oprah releases her reading list. Like, it's people like that, like, they're just curating the things that they enjoy and the things that they like, and the masses are at the whims, and they're shifted and pulled and pushed by what those content curators, who happen to be billionaires and mega personalities, decide, right? And like, in this, like, it very well could have been somebody different, and they may not have been super into Dungeons and Dragons, but they may have been really, really, like, absurdly into John Hughes films, right? So like, all of a sudden, instead of like Gundam Wing playing a role, like, we may have seen like The Breakfast Club playing a bigger role.
Yeah.
Like, that's where, like, I think that, like, this could be really interesting, right? Because, like, not to say that Zuckerberg would do this, but like, can you imagine if Zuckerberg were to just drop dead one day, but he left a gigantic game within Facebook? And to win the game within Facebook, you had to love obsessively love the things that Zuckerberg loved whenever he was a kid and whenever he was at Harvard.
Yeah. Like, and you know, I guess like he did kind of touch on it in the book, because I remember the first key, Artemis was having trouble with it because she had never built like a fascination with that first game, like Lance or whatever it was called. So I guess like it kind of touched on that. Like, there were certain things that just didn't vibe with other people, and even the last game. It was one that the main character, like, wasn't very experienced with.
Yeah, barely knew.
Yeah. So I guess it is a little bit realistic in that regard.
But he was able to do it in the last game because he knew Pac-Man really well, because he had won that quarter from Pac-Man, and you know, so it's like things like, you know, things like that. That's like, all right, well, like, we're just at the whims of Halliday, right? And Halliday could be anybody in this scenario.
All right, so one last question. I guess we can wrap it up, because I just thought this question was interesting. So Kara Nichols, she asked a question about like online avatars, adding anything that could have been done without like a simpler narrative. But the part that like really stood out to me was she was talking about a scene where Artemis and Z are at a club dancing, and their avatars order a drink at the bar. Why? And I thought I had the exact same. I was like, this is really weird, because like she was like, I know they can order pizza, but like does alcohol work like that? And then I was like, I don't think so. Like in my head, I was like, I think it's like almost for show. And it reminded me of like, I don't know if you guys ever did this, like back in the 90s, like or early 2000s, like you get online and get in like those chat rooms where people just like talk, and people would put like the stars, and they would be serious. It'd be like sitting in the corner ambiguously and shit like that. like
Yeah.
like and I remember always thinking that was so weird. And that's exactly what it reminded me of, like drinking just to like falsely set a mood or something. Like it was that caught me too.
What do you think about that, Robbie?
I think it's one of those things where it's like, you think that's what you're supposed to do? Like you just walk into a bar and you order a drink? Like, do you like, nobody walks into a bar and, I mean, except for like flash mobs, but like, all right, fine. You don't walk into a bar and start cleaning potatoes, just scrubbing potatoes, just right in the middle of the floor. Just walk in. Like, you don't do those things unless you're Andy Kaufman. But like I think Andy Kaufman would do. He would just come out on stage and clean potatoes. But just, it's what you do. I think them walking into a bar and having a conversation, it wouldn't feel like that's what you do. You know, and they could probably take that out and be fine.
It just seemed weird because like it's like if you were playing like a game, like, and you laid your player down for 8 hours every day because in real life you're supposed to sleep, but in the game it doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, or like if you're playing Madden and as a quarterback you always go out of bounds to like preserve your body in the long run.
Wait, you mean like when you're playing Madden, you actually play defense?
Yeah. Stuff like you know what I'm saying? Like it's like one of those things. Like I get it. Like that's what you're supposed to do, and it's normal. But it just seems like, I don't know. It just seems so weird. It was weird enough to where I thought it was weird while I was reading, and then again, like when I saw Kara's comment,
it made me wonder if like this was maybe like the only instance in this entire book where we ran into a continuity error, right? Where he said something that like didn't quite fit within this universe.
Yeah.
And like nobody really actually caught just how weird it was. But at the same time, like everything in this book is so thoroughly done that like I don't actually think that's what it was. You know, like I think it was just those things that it was like they do it because that's what you do. That's what you're expected to do. You walk into a bar.
If I'm in a Star Wars universe and I walk into a cantina, I'm ordering blue milk. Like,
yeah.
I can't drink it, but I'm going to order blue milk. Like,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because actually, you can ask the same thing. If you go to the Whedon universe and you get attacked by a vampire, do you really get your blood sucked? Because like they can't suck your blood. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Which again, it goes back to, you know, sort of where we started with reality versus not reality, and what do you do in a not reality? Do you treat it like real reality?
Well,
are we all just in a computer simulation?
Oh man, I mean that's like that's too deep. We could dig way into the simulation hypothesis right now.
Let's wrap this up, and guys, we will download this into a video and post it into the Facebook group so it's in there in perpetuity for you. Thank you guys so much for joining the StrongerU book club. We really enjoyed the chit chat, the back and forth. To everyone who has ordered and is reading The Name of the Wind, we love you. Thank you so much. It will literally change your life. It's an amazing book.
And we've purposely not made that the book, and I don't think we will for a while, just because it's so long. To ask 400 something people to read that is absurd. Like, yeah. I mean, it's just seriously, guys. For those of you who have done something like that, or I know I've like pimped Tiny Beautiful Things, like it's nobody's business. Like I thank you all for like trusting our rec. It's cool. That is.
And we're going to announce our next book now, or are we going to do it tomorrow?
Let them know. Let them know, and then we'll also just post the name of it in the group.
Well, I hope I have it correct. Guys, in January, I'm really excited for you guys to read this book. It is by one of my favorite writers of today. I'm the only person, I'm assuming I'm the only person because he basically told me when I told him this face-to-face that no one's ever told him that. But this book inspired my wedding vows a few years ago. But it's an amazing book that NFL athletes and teams have been using and reading, and just a really amazing way for you to kickstart the year and look at your problems and issues in life to realize that the obstacles that you face, the only way to get around them is through them. The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday is our January book club book, and I'm really excited for you guys to read that. Super short, not crazy long, reads very quickly, but really chock full of a lot of life-changing and just deep thinking information.
I thought it was a Fault in Our Stars.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Robbie, go ahead and post that link in the group.
Okay.
To let people know, and then we'll also I'll go ahead and post to let people know, like, by all means, over the next few days, if you just want to talk all things Ready Player One, go ahead and have at it with one another. And so that way, you know, like, we're 26 days into the month. Like, I'm sorry, but if you haven't finished it, then, like, spoiler alert. Yeah, some shit happens. They win, and somebody becomes a billionaire. So
cool. Awesome. Well, guys, we will get this posted. Thank you for hanging out. Leave your questions or anything you have as well, and we'll answer those in Facebook. And we look forward to chatting next month about The Obstacle is the Way.
Yeah.